Let's see. Say hi, Gary. Say something. Talk, Tommy.
Testing, 1, 2, 3, 4.
There we go. Okay. Tommy, where do you live?
Atlanta, Georgia. Actually, I live in Griffin, Georgia, right outside. We left that Atlanta Motor Speedway way.
Okay, we're ready to go. Okay, here we Tommy, if you need a break, just tell me, okay?
Yes, sir.
This is going to be good. 3, 2, 1, 57talk.com. Gary Cubetta back again, Scottsdale, Arizona, and a guest I've been trying to get for a very long time, Tommy Wildfire Rich. Tommy, pleasure to have you with us.
It's a pleasure to be there. You know, I heard a lot about 57 Talk, and, you know, and what I love about it, it's the legends of the past and of old school wrestling where it all originated.
Tommy, I'll tell you, you've given us, the fans of wrestling, many, many years of entertainment. I remember in the late 70s and 1980s, your dominance on the Superstation, WTBS from Atlanta, even winning the NWA championship from Harley Race. I'll never forget the afternoon that Gordon Soley announced that you had won the title. Looking back at it, does it seem like one big blur?
Yes, you can say it that way. Yeah, it was, you know, I mean, she was on the road 7 days a week, you know, different cities every night, and some of the greatest wrestling fans around the world. You know, I mean, Georgia Championship Wrestling made me, you know, nationwide, and most of all, I mean, I still do it every now and then, and if it wasn't for all the fans around the world, Tommy Rich wouldn't even be here.
Tommy, I want to talk about, first off, the Battle of Atlanta. Before we're speaking today, I was on YouTube, Buzz Sawyer and Tommy Rich, the build-up. It still excites me today, just watching you and Buzz cut those promos. October 23rd, 1983, the Omni in Atlanta. Many say the precursor to the Hell in the Cell matches that the WWE made so famous with Mick Foley and The Undertaker and others. What are your memories of that time, that match in wrestling?
Well, it was one of the longest lasting feuds, I would say, in the history of professional wrestling coming to an end right there in Atlanta, Georgia.
Now, it was a steel cage match, and they put a top on that cage, and hanging over the ring was Paul Ellering. Now, there is supposedly one video of the match, and a film company, I haven't been able to confirm this, Tommy, they're considering putting together, maybe they are in the process of putting together a movie about this match. Did you know at the time that the match had been filmed?
No, sir, I sure didn't. You know, usually at that time it was the last match, and back then, you know, they didn't really film blow-offs.
Did you say to anybody, this is going to be a match for the ages, let's get the cameras rolling?
After 2 years of wrestling Buzz Sawyer, I thought it would be my last match.
Now, Tommy, tell us about the violence that took place in that ring, because, you know, I've seen pictures of it. They're on the internet. An absolute bloodbath.
Well, it's, you know, it could have been nothing less than that, because it was geared as the last Battle of Atlanta, you know, between, you know, Buzz Sawyer, God bless him, he's gone now, and, but he was an animal. I mean, you know, I went in there and, it was a fight every night with him. I mean, now then they say it's sports entertainment. If you got in the ring with Buzz Sawyer, you know, it was, you know, you took a beating. I mean, and of course I throwed it back to try to keep him off of me too. I mean, it was, you know, like I said, we went around the country 2 years running, and the people never got tired of it. So I would say they believed too.
Yeah, they did believe, Tommy, because you can see the intensity even at the WTBS studios. Maybe with 20 or 30 fans, you know, at WTBS, they were on the edge of their seat waiting for this thing. 11,000 fans in the Omni, and we'll just have to see. Tommy, have you been contacted about being in this movie?
No, sir. I had, you know, it's just like all of my stuff on YouTube. I mean, I don't know. The Rebel's always the last one to hear, I reckon.
It's Shannon Kelly Films. If you look up on YouTube, they're promoting it. I'm not sure exactly where they're going to go with this, but Buzz, it's too bad that Ole didn't bring the camera crews into the Omni. I think it would have been very good for WTBS back then.
Oh, most definitely it would have. You know, it's, I mean, it was just, I mean, if nothing, I mean, it's like you watch old classic boxing now. I mean, just some of the tapes, some of the boxing, I mean, just old classic. I mean, you look back, I mean, you watch a boxing between George Foreman and Muhammad Ali, 15 rounds, one of them go to the hospital, be beat to death. You know, I mean, that's classic stuff. That's old school boxing. There's no old school boxing now. There's no heavyweights now. And it's, I mean, it's just, you know, nothing stays the same, they say, and I guess that's true. I was just lucky. I mean, I've been wrestling for 32 years now, and, you know, I still enjoy doing it. I mean, I ain't 25 no more, and, you know, I mean, I ain't as quick as I used to be, but I still go out there and do old school wrestling.
Now, April 27th, 1981, 2.5 years earlier, you defeat Harley Race for the NWA World Heavyweight title. And over the years, Tommy, there's been a lot of rumors as to why you were given the title. Can you clear that up for us once and for all?
Well, yeah, I can clear it up real quick. Harley Race knew I was money, and it was Harley Race's idea. And, you know, back then you had to put 10 grand up for it. Harley Race put the 10 grand up for me. I mean, as far, you know, some people call me a one-week wonder. Well, at least I had it for a week when the NWA World Heavyweight Championship really meant something. And to me, of all the champions, I mean, you go back Luthez and the Funks and all of them, Harley Race was the premier world heavyweight champion because you could love him or you could hate him, and that's the way he carried himself. And that's, to me, that's the testimony to a true world heavyweight champion or to a wrestler. You know, I mean, when you can go in and you know, take the people and just turn them around to either like you or hate you. You know.
So it was strictly a matter of, was it Harley Race's idea? Was it Jim Barnett's idea? Was it Bob Geigel's idea? Eddie Graham's idea?
I would say Harley Race had the most to do with it, you know. I mean, it was, you know, I mean, and back then I was a wild boy, and I think that had a lot to do with it. You know, the Crockett's, they didn't care too much for me, the Wattses, the Grahams, you know, and I think, you know, they just, I was young and wild, and I guess I didn't know if they could depend on me or what, you know. But anyway, I mean, it was a great thing for me. Harley Race made me, and you know, I mean, I look back and I would trade it for today, what's there now, which you can't do that anyway. But I mean, I like my place in history is where it should be because it's changed too much. I couldn't do it. I can't go out there and say, you give me an interview to do word for word, I couldn't do that. You give me an idea of what you want, and let me Tommy Rich say it the way he wants to, and that's what made Tommy Rich. And as far as going out there, move for move and a wrestling match, you know, Bullet Bob Armstrong said it best. It's vaudeville, it's Shakespeare, it's ad-libbing, and you know. Me, I'm cornbread anyway. You give me 20 spots to do in a row, I'm gonna be worried too much about doing them than to get them right, you know. So, you know, as far as all of that, I don't need a script. And I mean, you know, the booker, he told you what he wanted, and you went out there. And, you know, that was my personality. You know, I mean, somebody writing a script, they don't know my Southern cornbread. They can't tell, you know, they can't tell me how to talk Southern.
1977, your first appearance in Georgia. You win the NWA Georgia Tag Team titles with Tony Atlas defeating the Executioner and Pac Song. Right off the bat, you made a big impact in Georgia. And for people who wonder why Tommy Rich was given the championship, Tommy, you had that superstation wrapped up pretty much for 6 or 7 years.
Well, it was, I mean, I was at the right place at the right time. I mean, I was something that, you know, I broke in Tennessee, and like I said, I was just old cornbread country boy. And when I come to Atlanta, it was like country boy come to town. And the blue collar folks out there, I believe with all of my heart, the blue collar folks that made not only professional wrestling but baseball, football, etc., even NASCAR. You know, they could look at me and they could relate to me. And that to me is the greatest feat of them all because, you know, I mean, I realized where my roots come from, and you know, I was just something different down there. And like I said, I mean, me and Tony Ellis teamed up. It was the first salt and pepper team to be, and that was good.
Tommy,
you know,
Tommy, what made you different? Why were you able to get over so well on Channel 17 TBS? What was it about you?
I guess because I just take a ass whooping and not give up, kind of like that old Timex watch. I could take a beating, but I'd keep on ticking, and people, you know, people people relate to that. I mean, it's just like you go to work at your job and your boss is on your ass nagging you, nag, and I mean, I feel like that a lot of people would come and it was a way for them to look at the bad guy and say, hey, I see what Tommy's going through, and that made them cheer me on that much more. I really believe that.
Tommy, looking back at your time on TBS, what was the single hottest period for you? Was it with the Freebirds when you first came in with Abdullah? Was it Buzz Sawyer? What moment did you think, man, this is red hot?
To be honest, guy with you, I don't know that I ever realized that. Now then I know, I know now, but back then it's like I said, we was city to city and town to town, and I was a young kid. I loved what I did, and Wally McDaniel told me, he said, it don't matter if the baby faces like you or not. He said, you make sure all the heels like you. And which I had no problem with that because, I just went in there and listened to them. They ran the show, and they took care of me. I mean, for the simple reason, Buzz Sawyer, he was an animal, and he'd go out and beat people up. But he knew where his bread and butter was, and he knew, and me and him fought, don't get me wrong. And he hurt me quite many a time, but he also at the same time took care of me. He never, it'd be something out of the blue, we weren't solid, that's the bottom line, and he'd get a little wild every now and then, try something different, and, but that was give and take,
Now, Tommy, you started in the mid-1970s. You worked with Nick Goulas, right?
Yes, sir. That's how I broke in. And actually, Jerry Jett broke me into the wrestling business. I knew Eddie Marlin was a good friend of my father's. And Jerry Jett used to come watch my football, watch me play football when he moved to Hendersonville. And it wasn't none of his kids playing ball. And anyway, he'd come on Friday nights and watch me play. And I'd go to some of the matches with Eddie Marlin. And anyway, long story short, my mom and dad got divorced when I graduated. And I had a partial football scholarship at Louisville. And I couldn't do it, so I talked to Jerry Jett about breaking into the wrestling business. And it took a while to get in, but when I got in, it was good. It was what I wanted to do,
Okay, now you work with Nick Goulas, and of course I talked to Bill Dundee this morning, and he told me Jerry Jarrett pretty much ran the promotion. There was a big controversy at the time over George Goulas, who was Nick's son. Did you ever get in the ring with George?
Yeah, me and him and Bobby Eaton was the six-man world tag team champions at one time. That ain't one of my greatest moments. But
now here's what I want to ask you. I asked some people, they gave me fuzzy answers. You saw him, you were in the ring with him. How bad was this guy?
Well, if his daddy wouldn't have been the promoter, George Goulas would have never been in the business. He'd rear back and throw a forearm, and my little girl could throw one better than that, and he'd say, die, say, sell, and that's what the guy, they did the job because that's where they was working, that's what they had to do.
Did the fans recognize that this guy was a stinker in the ring?
Oh, I think they did. They knew it was Nick Goulas' son, and they knew that if Nick Goulas wasn't his dad and he was in the same position, it wouldn't last more than 30 seconds. Did
he get ribbed in the dressing room more than normal, or was he protected because he was the son of the owner of the promotion?
Well, nobody, once or twice he got beat up a little bit, and and it was respect, I guess, the guys for Nick Goulas too, whether they wanted to or not, Nick was their boss, and that's what they did,
Now, in 1976, September 14th, 1976, you defeated Jerry Lawler for the NWA Southern Heavyweight title. Do you remember this?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is something else. You've only been in the business a year, and you're going over on the King. Tell me a little bit about that feud at the time.
Well, I think that,
Why'd they give you the belt, Tommy?
Well, there again, I was Jerry Jett at the time, him and Tojo. Jerry had retired, and I was the new fresh thing, and Jerry Lawler didn't necessarily like it, and there ain't never been no love between Jerry Lawler and myself. We're from two different worlds, and but business is business.
Tommy, were you with Goulas when Jarrett and Goulas split off, or had you already gone to Georgia? Do you remember the split?
No, I'd already gone to Georgia, I believe, you know, and you know, I mean, stay split. I mean, at the time, that's the reason I went to work for Nick at first, because Jerry wanted me to get experience before I come to the Memphis end and wrestle. So Tojo and myself, see, and a lot of respect for Tojo there, because Jerry Atkins, would he take me and go to work for Nick? And Tojo took a lot of cutting money doing that, because Jerry's end was really hot, and Nick's was so, you know. But we went in and worked some angles with the Von Steigers and you know, some different teams, and it popped and come up, because, I mean, Tojo, he was the old bad guy, been with Jerry, and I was like a new Jerry, you might say. I would sell and tag Tojo, you know. So, you know, the people, I mean, it was, you know, it was just, it was good, man.
Tommy, you were there when they split off, I think, because they were both running the Mid-South Coliseum simultaneously in '77. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I mean, I was in and out of there. I mean, it's, and like I say, it's a lot of it, like you said, it is a blur. I mean, as far as dates and splits and all of that, I mean, you know, even Nick Goulas, when I first started in the business, you know, you go by yourself, but I'd have to wrestle in Lexington, Kentucky on a Friday night, drive from there by myself all the way to Birmingham, Alabama, do a Saturday morning TV show live, make $15 for that, drive across to Chattanooga, Tennessee, make $25 for that TV, and then wrestle in Chattanooga that night, and then drive back to Nashville, you know. So,
did you feel like you were getting screwed payoff-wise in the Mid-South area?
No, sir, not really. I mean, shoot, you can't. I mean, you know, I mean, I come right into wrestling out of high school, and you know, when I was in school, I worked at a gas station, and you know, I mean, my money was good. I mean, and
I ask you that because a lot of people have complained about the Goulas and Jarrett payoffs. I've heard, you know, people complain on our programs about it, and I'm just wondering, did you think it was fair what you were being paid?
Well, everybody got paid. I mean, for the TVs. I mean, if they were pushing you, you know, I mean, they figured that's your time to get over, and you know, and so that was just part of it. You know, I mean, and if they wasn't happy with it, then they should have packed their bag and left. That's all I can tell them. You know, my reason for leaving was never over money. I just had some personal problems when I went to Atlanta. It was over personal problems. It wasn't over money.
Now, Tommy, you first come to Atlanta. Of course, you had these famous matches that Ole Anderson spoke about in his book with Abdullah the Butcher, where Abdullah beat you up and then you'd come back and face him again. When you first wrestled on TBS, did you know that this thing was going all over the world?
Oh yeah, I knew it was going all over the world, but to me, my focus was on Georgia, because you know, at the time we were doing the Georgia shows, and you know, I mean, folks would tell me I was getting mail from around the country. I mean, I was aware that folks all over the world knew me. You know, I mean, and it's you know, it's just it's been a great life for me, and I have no regrets. You know, I mean, as far as anybody I hate in the business, to be honest, I tell you the truth, if I did now, I don't hate nobody. You know, everybody talks bad about somebody. I have no regrets, no hates, because it's all good. I mean, you're speaking of Abdullah the Butcher. The first night that I come to Georgia, we wrestled at Atlanta City Auditorium, and my mom, my brother, and a friend of hers come down, and my draw was Abdullah the Butcher, you know, and here I am. And Jerry told me, he said, if you get down there and you don't like it, he said, call me, and he said, I'll get you out of it. And that's what he was hoping I would do. Anyway, and I about did, because Abdullah, he beat me in about 35 seconds, busted my head open, and Tony Atlas saved me. And I thought, no, I ain't quitting. And after the match, Abdullah, I come back, and Abdullah told me, he said, hey, kid, he said, thank you very much. He said, I'll give it back to you down the road somewhere. And I thought, yeah, right. But one Thanksgiving at the Omni, Pack sold out. Wahoo was supposed to be there, and something happened, and he wasn't there. And they asked Abdullah who he wanted to wrestle. He said, I want the kid. And I'll never forget it. I mean, we're in there, and they jam-packed, we're fighting, fight around the ring, come back in, I'm hitting him, and all of a sudden he says, body slam me. I said, I can't. He said, body slam me. I said, I can't. He said, I said, body slam me. and I reached down and picked him up, put him up over my head, body slammed him, that building come down. And after that, that tag teaming with Tony Atlas and the tag belts, the Salt and Pepper team, then the thing with Abdullah, it made me, the people just said, it was like, look at this kid slam Abdullah, and he did give it back to me, and I think that's a relationship. I might have been wilder than a buck, whatever, but that's a relationship, and I was lucky because I worked with the Abdullahs, the Kabukis, the Pack Songs, Stan Hansen, Dirty Dick Slater. I worked with some of the greatest talent in the wrestling business, the guys that actually pioneered the business. So Blackjack Lance and Bobby Heenan, Gary Hart and Kabuki. These are characters. These people were, you go to WWE and they make you a character. These folks, Ox Baker, they were already characters. That's the way they lived. The Andersons, the Minnesota Wrecking Crew, that's the way they was. It wasn't putting no character on them because that was their character. Killer Carl Cox, crazy man, he was about half-ass crazy. Tommy, I got to wrestle all of them.
Tommy, I know Atlantic City Auditorium ran on Friday nights. Did the Omni run Fridays or Sundays?
It would run Sunday. After they shut the auditorium down, they'd run it on Sunday.
They'd run the Omni on Sunday. Now, you were inside the Omni for almost all of the shows from 78 on. What was the heat like inside the Omni for a red-hot card? Can you describe it to us?
The best thing to explain it is like I said, and I still get goosebumps. Like when I think about Abdullah and me slamming him, it's just certain things. You asked me if I had one great match. I've had a bunch of great matches because I wrestled the greatest guy. In each way, each match was different, but it was a great match because it was different characters.
1980, you face Austin Idol. He's a little bit new on the scene, at least as Austin Idol. He had been previously Iron Mike McCord. What was it like facing Idol in the ring?
Oh, it was. Austin was great. Me and him was good friends, and you speak about Austin. I think the greatest memory of Austin is when I was a heel, and me and Austin was teamed up in Memphis, and I went to Japan. I had to go to Japan. They did a deal that hurt me, and I went to Japan for 4 weeks. And anyway, the day I come back, Memphis Coliseum was running, and it was Jerry Lawler versus Austin Idol, hair versus hair, and neither one of them ever had their head shaved. 20-foot cage around the ring, standing 20 foot high on the floor. Nobody can get in and nobody can get out. Well, I get there at I guess about 3 or 4 o'clock, and anyway, I get there and they put me on what they push the cameras out there with. I get under the tarp because the security is there. I go out there, I get under the ring, and I've got an air mattress and a 6-pack of beer. And I get under the ring, and, that's at 4, and they were the main event, and it probably didn't start till 11 o'clock. And, I was under there all that time, and when I come out, I've seen what heat actually was. We had to stay in that ring for 30 minutes after one kid tried to climb over and to get in the ring. And, of course, the Memphis police got him, wore his ass out, and we had to stay in the ring for 30 minutes for him to bring extra police in to get us back to the back. That's when I realized what real heat was.
So, Tommy, you've moved ahead to 88 and the cage match. Let me ask you about that, because a lot of people have wondered. You're underneath the ring all that time. The bodies are being slammed on the mat. Did you get a headache, or was the beer just taking care of all the pain?
Oh, no, because the jet lag was taking care of all of it. Like I said, I got there at about 3 or 4, and I laid up on the air mattress up and laid down on it and fell asleep. First thing I heard was, that Memphis ring was real loud anyway. First thing I heard was somebody taking a big bump on the ring, and it sounded like a cannon underneath it. And I popped up underneath that ring, hit my head on the beam on the bottom, and, it was
How did they signal?
experience.
How'd they signal you that it was your time to come up through the mat of the ring?
It was just
How'd you know when to pop up?
well, Paulie was out there, and we just had a spot. To be honest with you, I don't remember, and it was really almost spontaneous. It just when you've worked with folks, for a while, and you know what the deal is, then it's it's all timing, and it was. Didn't nobody shoot no flare under there, or didn't nobody crawl under there and tell me to come on. It just, I could listen to the people actually and tell what was going on.
Did you need a knife or something to slice your way through the ring mat?
No, I come out from underneath the apron.
Oh, you came out from underneath. You didn't come up through the middle of the ring.
No, sir. The cage was sitting on the floor, and I just come out.
Oh, okay. I got you. Cages are on the floor.
No, I just come out right up from the apron there.
Yeah. Now, you were really good friends with Austin Idol. You guys were buddies, right?
Oh, yeah. Very good friends. You know, I mean, I had a real good run with him there. And down here in Georgia, I had a real good run working against him. I mean, and he was a class act.
He's kind of a mystery man. Have you kept in touch with him at all?
No, sir. When he disappeared with his purifier business, I never heard nothing else from him. You know, he went down there and his wife went into real estate, and you know, I mean, he was just that. And the wrestling business that way too. I mean, you know, back then you had territories. I mean, who was there. I mean, you had a couple of your buddies, and then you'd meet somebody down the road that was your buddy there. You know, I mean, you're too busy, you know, to really have a social life. You know what I'm saying? So as far as, I mean, you just, but I'll tell you what it would be. It would be like, okay, say me and Austin worked the angle here in Georgia, and he moved on and went to Tennessee, and a year later I come in and there's Austin Idol. It was just like it was yesterday. You know what I'm saying? Because that relationship was still there.
Yeah. So while you're not talking to someone maybe for many years, the minute you see him, click, there it is. It's back like the good old days.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, for me it was anyway. You know, I mean, you know, I mean, it just because you know, you just don't have no time because you're so busy, and if you got a family, you spend time with them. You know, you're on the road. So actually, as far as going out, I mean, when I was single, we run Stewart Avenue, go to all the bars. I mean, Ricky Martel and myself. I mean, Slater. You know, I mean, it's. I can sit here and tell you stories all night about Stewart Avenue and the good times, you know. And then, you know, I mean, everybody had their own life at the same time, too. But, and that was a great thing about Georgia. I mean, some of the other territories, you'd be gone for 4 days. Here, you could, I mean, in Georgia, you'd be home every night. If you want to go out, you could go out. Or, you know, if you had a family, you could go home to your family and still have some, you know, have your family time because you had actually enough time to do it.
Tommy, you appeared one time in Madison Square Garden. What do you remember about that?
I remember Jim Barnett telling me, he said, you know, I mean, because at the time I met my wife, and I didn't really care about going out. But Mr. Barnett said, he said, Tommy, my boy, he said, you got to go to the Garden one time. If you don't do nothing, you got to go one time. And I went up there, and it was, you know, I mean, it was bigger than Atlanta. You know, I mean, it was, you know, I got goosebumps. You know, I got goosebumps. But Tommy Rich's home was in Georgia. I mean, because that's, you know, I mean, I was loved around the country, but I spent more time one-on-one with most of the folks in Georgia because back then, I mean, you couldn't run a weekly town now, but back then, I mean, we was in the same town every week.
But Tommy,
and imagine that, you know, that you'd go to these towns and you could actually go 52 weeks a year, you know, and work in the same town week after week,
Tommy,
and draw money.
Tommy, when you went to the Garden, who did you face?
Johnny Rod.
Did the fans at the time know you in the Garden because of the Superstation, or were they not sure exactly who you were?
Oh, yeah, they knew who I was, and I got a big reception. But Johnny Rods, he
What was it like working with Johnny Rods compared to all these superstars that you had faced in Georgia? I mean, he's not up to the...
It was just attitude.
Yeah.
Johnny Rods didn't like the point that he had to put me over, but that was his deal, and that can make or break a match, you know. I mean, you go out there and work hard. And then again, too, the New York crowd, my style was different from, I mean, they used to see Bruno Sammartino and them guys, just, you know, big solid guys that, my wrestling style was different, so the people didn't realize that in New York. I mean, I think they accepted me well, but it wasn't New York style wrestling.
I got you. So you're in the dressing room that night after the match. Are you thinking, I'd like to come back here? Or are you thinking, one night was enough for me?
Oh, well, don't get me wrong. I mean, I never went back because that was my choice. But I mean, if I'd have been told to go back, then I'd have went back. like I said, when I worked for Bill Watts, and Eddie Graham, and you work on a Superdome, and it's sold out, and you make $150. You work for Eddie Graham, and it's sold out at the Bayfront. You make $150, and I can wrestle in Carrollton, Georgia, and make $150.
Yeah.
Well, and be home,
Tommy, here's what I'm getting at, though. I want to know, when you were in the Garden, the contrast, Madison Square Garden to the Omni, the style of wrestling, the excitement of the fans. Madison Square Garden more famous, but if I remember correctly, in the early 1980s, the Omni had some of the hottest wrestling in the country.
Yeah, it was to me, I'd take the Omni hands down at the Atlanta City Auditorium. But it was a different. I was a star when I went there, but it was a different style of wrestling for me.
Yeah,
Plus, I wrestled Johnny Rods anyway. Didn't want to have a match, but at the same time, like I said, I got to meet Vince Senior. He was a great promoter, and that's stuff like that's what I remember. And he sat down and he spoke to me, and he didn't have to take time. I was just one of the guys, but he sat down and me and him talked for about 10 minutes maybe, and that was a big thing to me because he took the time to sit down with me.
Tommy, you wrestled a lot in Memphis. Contrast Memphis wrestling to Atlanta, Georgia wrestling.
I think it's the same.
It's the same. Okay, very interesting.
I think it's the South. And like I said, when I wrestled in Louisiana, or when I wrestled in Florida, that's Southern wrestling. I think it's a different type of wrestling fan. It's like when you go to Japan, the folks they don't react like the people at home in the States do. You might do 5 or 6 things, and they'll just sit there and not even make a sound. Finally, they'll clap their hands. Everybody clap their hands at the same time or something, and that's it. At home, I'm used to people saying, "Fired up, Tommy, fired up," and it was like they was in there with you. You know what I'm saying?
Almost like a college football crowd, maybe even more exciting, right?
Oh yeah, because they're hollering exactly for you.
Yeah.
It ain't a team effort. If you have a stinking match, you can't blame it on nobody but yourself. Because most of mine was singles, and it's all on you. And at the same time, when them folks are hollering, "Go Tommy, go!" it's all you. So it's a different. It's a rush. You can't explain it.
Tommy, you didn't wrestle much for Crockett when he had Mid-Atlantic before he went national. Was there a reason you didn't go into the Carolinas?
I guess because I was a rebel and didn't nobody like me. I don't know. I just said what I thought, and I guess.
But how did he know you said what you thought?
Well, guys like, Ric Flair didn't like me, my deal was in Atlanta, Georgia, man. The TV, the ratings was hot, and I did my job, and I'd have rather been home in Atlanta. And I was very fortunate. There's 20 other territories around the country, 30, whatever it was. And a lot of guys, I've seen a lot of guys have to, but at least they have an opportunity to go somewhere else and get a break. I was very fortunate that my career really revolved around Tennessee and Georgia, because when I'd get to burn out here, then I'd go home to Tennessee. And it was great for me.
Was it your choice to do the 2 territories, or did the other promoters not like you that much?
Oh, well, and it was, I think it's like I said. I told Mr. Barnett, I make as much money here. Why should you send me these towns and these guys screw me on my money when I can be here making money for you? So it was kind of a mutual thing. Now, I worked shows like Eddie Farhead was a friend of Jim Barnett's, and as he was going under, Mr. Barnett would try to help him, and I would go. And I didn't mind going and making him shots, because it was a favor, because I was lucky to be where I was at, and it's a favor to Mr. Barnett, and, he helped these promoters out. And to me, I would rather go and work for Eddie Farhat and make $50 than I had to go down to St. Pete and wrestle for them and know I'm gonna get screwed on my money. They're gonna have a sold out house, and I might not have drawn it all, but I drawed my part. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Bob Geigel, another one. When he was going down, I went up there quite a few times to try to help them to get that going. I mean,
Tommy, let me ask you. You said that Jim Barnett tried to help Ed Farhat near the end, and I've talked to Ed's son, Ed Jr., and there's a big controversy about did Jim Barnett want to help or Jim Barnett not want to help so that the Sheik would go out of business and then he could take it over? Was there a reason that when the Georgia talent went with the Sheik that it still didn't save him?
Well,
what was behind the scenes there? What was going on?
I think what that was that if a great man Eddie Farhat, like I said, a lot of respect for him because he treated me very well when I went down there, and I wrestled it for him at the Army in Parkersburg, West Virginia, and turned away 300 people, but it might not have but 400 or 500, and he paid me $300 or $400, $500, whatever it was, I don't remember. So that's a mutual respect. You know what I'm saying? It's like a 15-yard penalty. It's like they flagrantly throw that flag on me for working for the Crockett's or these other guys, whether they respected me or not. They should have paid me my money. So therefore, I never had no problem. With any of them, but I just want to be treated, I know Dusty Rhodes was on the card, and I know he made more than $150. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Tommy, you keep mentioning that you had been underpaid on some cards, and look, every worker from the 70s and the 80s says the same things, and I believe you guys, but can you tell me a specific example of when someone, just cheated you?
Well, when I was at the Superdome for Bill Watts, and it was sold out, and I was like semi-main or right before that, and he paid me $150. When I was in St. Pete for Eddie Graham at the Bayfront, and it was sold out, turned folks away, and I was a big part of that car, and he paid me $150. I'm not, and I didn't want the whole gate either. I didn't want the whole gate, but I wanted my piece of the pie, and whether they like me or not, because I drawed some money for them, they should have paid me accordingly. At least Bob Geigel and them guys, whether it was there or not, they would. I never felt like they cheated me a bit. And if I'd have not made a dime, it wouldn't have mattered. It would have mattered, but I could have lived with it more so than I could going to work for these other guys, and I know it's just putting the money in their pocket and they're talking about me behind my back,
Tommy, do you remember going in to help Joe Blanchard when you were with in Atlanta? I remember some of the talent went into the Hemisphere Arena.
Yes, sir. That's another one. Joe Blanchard. Wahoo McDaniels was booking out there, and Wahoo was a very good friend of mine, and I didn't mind going out there.
How was he doing when you guys would come in? Would you pop the town? Was the attendance good? Or?
Oh yeah, it helped. It most definitely did. But they're going back to Eddie Farhat.
Yeah.
I think what actually happened to the Sheik is that he had been there for so long, and he had made himself the main event for so long that the people they wouldn't come to see it.
How many times did you wrestle against him when you were trying to help out?
Oh, probably, a couple of dozen, maybe. I'm not sure, but
could you tell that the fans' reaction to him wasn't, for example,
me and him, I'm gonna be honest with you there, because me and him, I was like that young kid, and it was there. I was off Atlanta TV, so it wasn't like watching him that would wrestle one of the guys that's been there for 2 years, that they've seen over and over.
You wrestle them a couple of dozen times. Are the houses filled? Are they empty? Are they half filled? What's going on?
They're good, but he's done lost his big buildings. We're just in, the smaller towns.
Yeah.
He couldn't make it, I guess. I don't know, because I don't know his business situation.
Yeah.
I just know, what my situation was, and I know why I went there.
What
it was for, and it wasn't my place to question anyway.
Tommy,
after he shut down is when Jim Barnett went in and started running.
Tommy, hold on, Tommy, I got to ask you a question. What did he tell you about? Did you talk to the Sheik at all in the dressing rooms?
Oh yeah.
What would he tell you? What would he take? Because those were the last years of Detroit, and things are going down. What was he telling you?
Well, see, he wasn't running Detroit then. That's what I'm saying. He was just running little shows like Parkersburg, all these big shows was gone. He done lost them.
Was he depressed?
Well, No, I didn't say, I mean, you say depressed, I don't know. He was, I mean, we'd be in separate dressing rooms, and I mean, I didn't conversate with him a whole lot. You know what I'm saying? As far as talking about business and stuff, I mean, our conversation would be about the match, and he'd tell me, every time I came, he'd tell me, thank you very much, and I'd thank you for having me. I mean,
Yeah, I'm asking you about this because the only thing Ed Fairhot Jr. didn't want to discuss with me was the last years of his dad's promoting, and it's difficult to find out exactly what happened. But you filled me in a little bit. He lost the big towns. He was going small towns. You guys were trying to help him out. It was okay, but without the big towns, there wasn't enough business to continue.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he had a high standard of living. I mean, that's none of my business.
Yeah.
That's none of my business. So, I mean, I just came and did my job,
So, Tommy, the Sheik's gone. He's out of business. And you guys move in to his old territory, the areas. And, man, you guys popped like Columbus, Ohio. It went nuts, right?
Yes, sir.
Tell me about that. Georgia Championship Wrestling on tour. Here you are leaving Georgia and starting to do a little bit of touring. What was it like?
Oh, it was, it was good. I mean, and what was good is that, I mean, at the time, I mean, it's like I said, what Vince McMahon has done now, Mr. Barnett could have done 25 years ago. But it was a NWA wrestling promotion. These promoters from all over around the country, and it was he respected that, and I mean he could have went to any area he wanted to. He didn't just have to send us guys. He sent us guys to help these guys out. That was the bottom line of that. Dusty Rhodes would come in to do Atlanta TV just so he would be seen on that TV to go around the country. I mean, that's
Tommy, here's my question. You go into Columbus, Ohio. You must have been there for the first matches. Did you have to build the crowd up, or as soon as they announced Georgia Championship Wrestling's coming in, the place is sold out? I don't really remember that time. Fill me in.
Sold out. Everywhere we went, sold out. Charleston, West Virginia, we used to stay at the Holiday Inn right next to the building there in Charleston. And I was wrestling Buzz Sawyer one night, and I told them over to Holiday Inn, I said, if I fill your bar out, I said, we get free drinks tonight? They said, yeah. I got on that microphone, I said, Buzz Sawyer, after I kick your ass tonight, I said, we're having a big party over at the bar at the Holiday Inn. They had to call extra security, and I mean, the people mobbed the place. I mean, it's like he's a rock and roll star.
So if you guys had taken Georgia Championship Wrestling, for example, into the Meadowlands in New Jersey, do you think you could have drawn 83-ish, 1983, 82?
Oh, I know it would have. I mean, there's no question. I mean, it was because people were, excuse me, starving to see it, and excuse me, but excuse me, you done got me choked up. But anyway, I mean, it's just, Ted Turner, he was cool before cable was cool, you might say. I mean, he had Georgia Championship Wrestling and Atlanta Braves, and they never won a game, and them two things is what carried him to get him to the point to where his shows started drawing. If he hadn't had Braves or the Georgia Championship Wrestling, I think the Georgia Championship Wrestling more so helped him than the Braves did, that he may not have made it. And I think he knew that too.
Tommy, you're filming TBS Wrestling. Was Ted ever around? It was on a Saturday morning. Did you ever see him?
I met him once or twice, just in the hallway, say, hey, how you doing? I mean, never conversated with him very much.
They say he was a fan. Was he a casual fan or a serious fan?
That I couldn't tell. I mean, I know he was a fan, I mean, he didn't have no Tommy Wildfire Rich t-shirt, Okay. I mean, he didn't have one of them, but I know he liked wrestling, and which he only liked it because it made his station.
How did Ole and Jim Barnett work together? Did you watch them, working back and forth? What was it like?
Well, I think Jim let him pretty much have the run of it, and I think that's how that Ole fucked Ralph Reed and Ole Anderson fucked Barnett out of it because he let Ole have too much pull. And Ralph Reed was down there in Columbus, and they went behind his back and took it out from under him. That's what I think.
Do you think it was a mistake to give Ole that much control over the product?
Well, I mean, that's not. I mean,
what do you think? You were there wrestling.
Well, that's my. I mean, I just give you my opinion. I mean, I think he only got a hold of too much, and between Ralph Reed and him, they had it. And I mean, That's what I think. It's.
We've had Buck Robley on the program, and he booked Georgia for, I think, an 8-week period, and it was red hot at the time. Bruiser Brody was in, the Freebirds against the Andersons in the steel cage in the Omni. Do you remember Buck as the booker in Georgia?
Yes, sir, I do. I'm why he got fired.
Okay, now, first, we're going to get to that story in a minute, but I want you to tell me, how was Buck as a booker? He's got a reputation that when he comes in, all hell breaks loose.
Well, all I know is that you look at what he did in Louisiana, and that's where I met him and know him from. Is when I first met him, and but he was a rebel. He was a rebel. That's the bottom line. If it was raining outside and you tell him it's sunshine, brother ain't gonna tell you it's that goes sunshine. He gonna tell you it's raining. And I respect that as somebody. Don't ask me something if you don't want to hear it. Or if you don't want to answer, I'm going to tell you. If you're right, I'll say that's right, and I'll agree with you. But if I've got another opinion, I'm going to give it to you, too. And that's what Buck Robley was.
Were you in the TBS studio when Brody came in with the wheelchair and wheeled the guy around and smashed him into the... Were you there for that?
Yes, sir.
What was it? That was a crazy angle at the time, and Buck had set that up.
Well, I think that was kind of ad-libbed. Don't nothing run like that. I've been in business 30 years. That was kind of some of that ad-libbing, I think. Everyone could take credit for it, whatever, and that might have been basically. But when he pushed that wheelchair and he run into the pole, that wasn't scripted. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You can't, that'd be like, to me, that'd be a 1 in 10 shot to say, I'm going to push this wheelchair with this guy in it that's scared to death and hit him and run him into the pole. That's just something, that's kind of like fate to me. That's just something that happened. If he'd went back to try to do that again, I don't think he could have done it.
Yeah. Well, Buck and Bruiser were very close at the time. In fact, Bruiser Brody had come into Georgia because of Buck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. He was his back.
Yeah.
They were very good friends, and they'd been down many a road, and Brody was in there. And Buck brought Brody in, because, Brody would have just come through Atlanta, works for shows, but as far as being booked in the territory. And the day they fired him, when it was at the Omni, and Brody come through the front of the Omni with his pant legs rolled up, looking wilder than he ever did. You know what I'm saying?
Whoa, wait. I want to hear this. Now, wait a minute. First of all, you said you were involved with the firing of Buck. Now, Buck says he quit, and some say he was fired. But tell us about the match on TBS, how that was set up that led to the controversy.
Well, all I know is, and maybe I'm saying something, I shouldn't have, because I don't know. But this is Paul Harvey with the rest of the story. The deal was, Buck's deal was to come in book only and not to work at all. And anyway, it went Saturday TV. I was supposed to wrestle Roberto Soto, and he was a babyface, and I was a babyface, and he didn't think he should put me over. Buck fired him. Buck put his yellow dog outfit on, come out there and put me over in 7 minutes, and then we did a little angle where we went to commercial break, and I got out of the ring. He threw my arm into the pole. I got color on my shoulder. And when we come back from break, Ted DiBiase carried my shirt out there. Nobody ever seen nothing really. And I thought that was the best part of it, because it kind of left your mind to wonder. How bad is he? Because it's usually you see the big gash on the head or whatever, and this all I see was a bloody T-shirt. So it was.
So what happened next?
Well, after that, he either quit or they fired him, because that was his last day.
I've heard rumors that during all this, Gordon Soley was extremely upset. He didn't like the tone of the programs, how hardcore they were. Do you remember Gordon being a little bit uncomfortable?
Not really. I ain't really ever seen Gordon Soley uncomfortable anyway. He was the man.
Okay. So then you said that the Omni show came up and Brody came in, right? And he had heard that Buck was no longer with the company?
Yeah, that was on Sunday. We did TV Saturday, and that was Sunday.
So you're at the Omni. You see Brody come in. What's Brody do when he comes in with the pants legs rolled up? What happens next?
From there, I think it went off into the room, and that was, he just come in wild,
He didn't want to see Buck.
They was just letting them know.
Yeah.
They was just letting them know what they thought. That's what I think. Brody had never come through the front door before.
How did Brody get over in the Omni? Do you remember?
Great. Brody was great. I knew Frank very well. He, come stay at my house a couple of times. class act, and but there again, if he thought, he thought what they done was wrong, then he gonna let you know about it. And I don't know. I didn't see nothing wrong with it, but I guess if you make a deal, a deal's a deal. I don't know.
Tommy, something tells me off this interview you're going to be an internet sensation all over again. Can I ask you to come back and do a part 2 on a different day?
Yeah, if you get a bunch of call-ins asking.
You'd be willing to do it, right?
Yeah, I ain't talking. Hey, I love you folks out there, too, by the way. Been a long time. Maybe we'll get on the road again.
Tommy, I think they love you as well. Tommy, we will talk with you soon. I really appreciate you taking the time, a former NWA World Heavyweight Champion, taking the time to spend with us today here at 57talk.com. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much, Gary. Hey, check on that film thing for me, too, now.
I'm going to check. I'm going to get to the bottom of it, and I'll be in touch with you in a day or two, okay?
All right. Thank you, man. You and the folks out there have a great day.
Thanks, Tommy.
Bye-bye.